All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich Celenza. Thanks for checking out my channel. So what I want to get into today is balance and coordination. And I don't think a lot of people pay attention to how important this is, regardless what type of physical activity you do or just life in general. I don't care if you walk, I don't care where you work, whatever the case may be. I don't think a lot of people realize how being coordinated, but also having balance, and that is throughout your entire body. And I get a lot of times, if you're righty, you're right-handed, that's going to be stronger. If your right leg is stronger than your left, I get all that stuff. But what I'm really talking about is becoming very balanced and becoming a strong foundation throughout your entire body, up and down. So I'm going to give you kind of a heads up on the past, on kind of how I believe I built up a lot of my coordination, and that was just playing sports throughout my entire life. I started at like 5 years old, playing all different types of sports, also going to the YMCA. And as I got older, like everybody else, I just became more and more coordinated. And I think one of the reasons was, again, I think this is where people miss out on things, is I kept trying new things. So I started off, say, my father got me a skateboard even at 5 years old. After that, I started to play a lot of sports. I was playing soccer. I also was going, learning how to ride a bike. And then I started to play football. Then I started to play baseball. Then I was wrestling. I boxed, played many different sports, tennis. And the thing I realized, though, each time I went to do those when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily the greatest. I was pretty good and very coordinated, but as time went on, I developed that coordination to excel. But it took long periods of time. But by me trying all these different sports, so if you took football and soccer, how different they were, especially the positions I played, one's with all feet and one's kind of all upper body to a certain degree. I mean, of course, you're running. But it was two totally different types of things. Even with baseball, you're throwing the ball, catching with your other hand. It's a different type of coordination. And I went snow skiing with my father a couple times, then we're water skiing, and then you're barefooting and all these things that really helped me later in life, because by doing all these type of things, I developed a lot of coordination throughout my body, both sides of my body, both arms, both legs, everything. And then I really dove hard into weightlifting, which helped me very much because I was already lifting weights throughout my life. But when I started to take it a lot more serious and want some huge gains, I guess you could say, lifting heavy weights, the balance and coordination really helped me basically stay injury-free, I believe, because a lot of people, I think, that do get injured, not everyone, they're not always as balanced as they should be to a certain degree. And they don't pay attention. And I think a lot of times that's also where the injuries come in. I think sometimes, too, when, like, say I'll just throw it out there, if you're a righty and your right hand is a lot stronger than your left. I think for most people they would say that. And your left hand is not as strong or as coordinated, which is understandable. But you need to concentrate, I really believe, on the other side, your left side. Now, one of two things I sometimes believe happens as well is if you're lifting weights, hypothetically, and your right arm is excelling and your left isn't, you're kind of neglecting your left. I got a newsflash for you. I believe that. Or on the other hand, if your left is so much weaker than your right, you're either making that fatigue in one way or another in your life. I don't know if it's your job. I don't know if it's the way you do certain things. But again, you want your right arm and left arm, right leg, left leg, all of that to really be near one another as far as strength goes. Coordination, that's very hard, I get it. But as far as strength goes, you want to have a balance throughout both sides of your body. And if you're going to work out, let's just say, and you're a beginner, I think the one thing people should do, even before they start going to a gym or doing whatever they're doing, is building up that strength. And you can just do that at home. You can watch YouTube videos on that. You can even do some yoga. But you want to have that center. And you want to understand also, no matter what you're going to go try out, if you don't excel in it, that's okay. You've got to realize that. It takes time to do something new. And even if you've done something in your past, like I went and I played basketball throughout my whole life. I was just in my buddy's backyard playing basketball. I am nowhere near the coordination that I used to have then. I mean, I don't have the launch ability that I used to have because I could jump, and I could still jump very high. But the shooting technique, the way I moved, of course, I'm middle-aged now. But my point is, I'll bet you if I practiced and played for, a month or two or whatever the case may be, a lot of that would come back. So don't get aggravated, and also don't get caught up in your past. Let's not even go that route. But if you are somebody, like I said, if you're having problems with your balance and coordination, I see this a lot in the gym, especially you probably did as well. If you're seeing a guy with a straight bar, you kind of see him, they're kind of one arm's moving forward, the other's kind of weak. Shoulder presses, they're leaning this way. Even squatting, I see a lot of men and women squatting incorrectly. They're coming down, they're twisting, and I'm telling you, in the long run, you've got to be very careful because you're taking a toll on your hips. Whatever side of the body you're leaning on more than the other, you're taking a toll on that. It's unbalanced. It's going to give you eventually, I think, maybe even back issues. You've got to it's either too heavy or you're not coordinated enough. One or the other, but you have to build that coordination. Not just in sports is what I'm saying too. Even if pay attention to the way you jog, if you jog, the way you walk, the way you do things. I don't care if it's the way you pick up certain things. Try to get that balance and that coordination, okay? When I was younger, I used to go to Ron John's surf shop and I would rent surfboards because I lived in Chicago. I didn't have my own surfboard. So I'd go there, and one thing, even though I could skateboard, I could do all these things, when I went surfing, I could stand on the board very quickly. But I realized I was afraid of sharks. So the fear sometimes doing something took a toll on me a little bit. It actually interfered with me being balanced and coordinated, if that makes sense. And I don't think a lot of times people realize this. It could be even going to a gym. It could be going to a new yoga class. I don't care if you're going to Pilates. I don't care if you're going to rock climb. Sometimes you got to realize fear kind of comes into play. And if you're having an issue with whatever you're doing regarding fear, if it's actually interfering with your balancing coordination, most likely you shouldn't be doing it. Or if you do want to do that, you have to overcome that fear. It's just reality. So I just thought I would bring that into play. And I used to surf in my teens, and then not long ago, like 5 years ago, I was in Carlsbad, California with my cousin. I think we went to Encinitas, and I was surfing, and it came to me actually very quickly. But then I realized, I said, oh my God, you're in the ocean, you're surfing, you forgot you're afraid of sharks. I kind of knew it, but it didn't hit me. Very quickly, I could tell everything kind of fell apart for me. I wasn't focusing in on what I was doing now. I was focusing in more on the fear of what may or may not happen. So the reason I do a lot of these videos, it's not just to kind of show people what I've been through throughout my life. I try to give people a different perspective on something that I've gone through that I'm not sure I've ever heard anybody do a video on. But, I see tons of videos on coordination and balance, of course. But I don't think a lot of times people realize, you really got to be, when you're doing anything in life, really center in and focus in on what you're doing, really. And focus in on your body and pay attention to it. I mean, really pay attention. There's so many signs your body is giving you, but I don't think people really realize it. So your body is constantly sending you signals, so you really got to pay attention to it. And again, it's the simple things a lot of times, but please pay attention. You are probably a lot more coordinated than you think you are. You're a lot stronger than you think you are. You have a lot more potential. If you always felt like you're a klutz and all that, I don't believe that a lot of times. Sure, some people fall over. My friends make fun of me because I used to fall over all the time, and it was because my ankles are very thin. But when it came to other things, I would destroy them. I would literally jump over them, and they were like amazed at this crazy shit I did. And you might be able to do these things as well, regardless what age you are. Don't think you can't bring balance and strength and coordination to whatever you want to do. I promise you can. It just may take you longer, and you got to realize you're going to fail forward. All right? So don't forget that. Keep moving forward. And sometimes, you're just not good at something. That doesn't mean you can't be great at other things as well. And I get it. We're not all great at every different type of workout or sport or whatever we do in our lives. All right? You got to also realize a lot of times when you're doing things with others and you try to keep up, I don't care if you're even cycling or whatever, they may have been doing this for decades. If you go into a gym with me, I've been going since I was 5 years old. Now I'm 50. If you just started even a year or two ago, right? I mean, it's just it's my life. Some people have been doing things forever. You're not going to be as advanced as them. Not saying you can't be. Just give it some time, and I'm sure you can eventually maybe catch up to them, maybe even surpass them. You never know. So I'm going to wrap it up there. So you get a chance to subscribe. I always forget to mention that. What am I on? LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I've been doing a podcast for over a year now. It's called The Rich Celenza Show, WTF Are You Talking About? I've been having a lot of different guests on there, some regarding fitness, but I've been doing the full gamut on that thing, all different types of interesting people that I've known throughout the years and some that I'm just meeting through others. So you get a chance, you might want to check that out as well. All right, take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.